Hello and welcome to our Pandaversary. We're celebrating 8 years in business as Panda Education and Training. We're really pleased that you can be with us here today. So a little bit about us for those who are new to who we are and what we do. So Panda started 8 years ago. Myself, Rachel Arnold, and my business partner, Ros Prothero, we used to work at a large training company. I was quality director and Ros was head of staff learning and development. And we had a bit of a vision that the road to quality provision was really through upskilling and developing the confidence of our staff. So we used to buy in trainers, people from educators in schools, but it never quite hit the mark because work-based learning, post-16 education, employability training, it's all very niche. So we used to say, oh, we could do this better ourselves. And so we did. And that's when we set up Panda 8 years ago. The P stands for Prothero and A is for Arnold. And that's where the Panda has come from. So today, a bit more about what we do. So we predominantly deliver assessor and IQA qualifications and also the lead IQA qualifications. We deliver the award in education and training, the certificate in learning and development, and also coaching for learning. So all these qualifications help people new into the industry or people who want to become trainers or assessors develop their confidence and skills in being able to help and teach others. We also deliver a range of workshops. So we look at what are the challenges in the sector in post-16 education and try to develop workshops that really support those needs. So for example, learner reviews, they're not just a paper exercise. So learner reviews are carried out by apprenticeship assessors or in work-based learning. They have to be done every 61 days. And people often view them as a compliance exercise. They need to be done to draw down funding. However, we don't see it like that. We see reviews as being a really motivational tool for learners. It's the time where you can really reflect and evaluate on what has been done during the month and have those conversations to agree targets to make progress for the following month. So this workshop is really an overview of all those things and some of the key skills that you need in questioning techniques in order to develop confidence in assessors to have those conversations with learners. An introduction to ADHD for educators. So ADHD we're hearing more and more about as more and more people get diagnosed. And we're really pleased to have today Dr Esther Barrett, who herself was diagnosed only 4 years ago as having ADHD. And we want to make educators aware of how they can support their learners with ADHD, the differences their learners may have, the challenges they may have, and the things that we can do to overcome those challenges. Reflective practice for trainers and assessors. So reflective practice is a really key skill for trainers and assessors. It really helps people to review what they've learnt, what they've delivered, how they can improve, and how to make those improvements. It's particularly prevalent in the care sector at the moment because all the care qualifications have a large element of reflective practice. So it's really important that trainers and assessors understand the reflective practice process and how that reflective practice can help us improve. Introduction to neurodiversity for educators. So all our learners are different. Some may have neurodiversities, things like dyslexia, dyspraxia, autism, and this short workshop will give tools, tips and advice on how to support those learners with their different needs. Digital tools for engaging people online. This first came about during lockdown, where we took all our training online, but we've always been very passionate about active learning and making sure all our learners are engaged in the learning process. So we then started delivering how we were delivering during lockdown to other people. We give people time to explore the tools that's available, to find out what would work with them, to set up their online accounts and things like that. So it's a lovely little workshop to help build confidence in how to deliver training sessions online. Assertiveness for trainers and assessors. So with this workshop, we were getting asked a lot for tips and advice on how to be more assertive, one in the classroom and also two when working with learners or even managers. It's really important for assessors to get across, to communicate how they want things to be, and to make sure that their voice is heard, but in a positive way, but not an aggressive way. Introduction to AI for trainers and assessors. So in today's session, Roz is going to do a short introduction into some AI tips and tools. But this session will give trainers and assessors a little time to experiment with some of those tools for their own things that they're delivering in a comfortable and safe environment where it doesn't matter if things go wrong. Professional discussions for assessment. So this is for new assessors, new into the job role. Professional discussions are a really important and useful way of assessing knowledge. So we discuss how we plan with our learners, how to carry out a professional discussion, how that's recorded, and also some tips on using AI to save time for the recording of that information. Supporting learners' wellbeing, a communication toolkit. So this one we think is really important. Learners will always confide in their assessors about how they're feeling. And sometimes assessors and trainers don't know what to do with that information. So this workshop just gives you help and tools and tips and advice on how to deal with those conversations, how to have those conversations and where to signpost. So if you are interested in any of those, please hit that QR code there, follow the link, and you can find our events and bookings page. We also have a range of online learning on our online learning platform. So this is to be done at any time, any place, anywhere, to paraphrase the milk tray advert. The first one is how to give feedback for development. So feedback is really, really important in the learning journey. It's really important for learners to know what they've done well and what they need to improve. We give some tips and advice for how to give that feedback using a model called Medals and Missions. We also have one on how to agree educational goals and targets. So this is really important again for working with your learners to make sure that they're clear on their goals, on what they need to do, what work they need to carry out and by when, making sure that they understand what they need to do before you disappear and they're left on their own to complete their work. And the last one is Mastering Learner Relationships. So this one's going to be launched at the end of October. It's all about how to build relationships and rapport with your learners, which is so important. It's really the foundation of your relationship with your learners. So you can scan that QR code there and that will take you to our online learning platform. Moving on to today. We have three speakers, three micro workshops. We know everyone's busy, so what we wanted to do today is just bring you three micro workshops with some key learnings for you to take away and apply into your practice. So we're starting with our very own Roz, who's going to talk about AI and digital tools and how they can make your lives easier as educators, trainers, assessors, adult community educators. Then we've got Anne Reardon-James. So Anne is one of our Panda staff. She works as a learning advisor, supporting our trainers and assessors through their qualifications. And we were very proud of Anne this year for winning the National Training Awards, the NTFW Apprenticeship Awards for Practitioner of the Year. So we're very proud and thank you, Anne. Yeah. So Anne's going to give over some top tips. So these are, for those who are very experienced, they're just a little refresher of the kind of things that we need to be doing in our jobs. But for those of you who've joined who are new into assessing, it's really good for you to think about these things and make sure that you're doing them. And lastly, we have the lovely Dr. Esther Barrett, who we've known for many years. We've collaborated on many previously digital things, and Esther has taken the step into working in the ADHD and neurodiversity realm, and she'll explain more about that when she joins. But we're very pleased to be welcoming Esther today. So, with no further ado, Roz, over to you.
Hello. Great, thank you very much, Rachel. Right, hi everybody. So yeah, if anybody was at our Pandaversary last year for our 7th Pandaversary, you'll know that I like to bang on about AI quite a lot. But yeah, it's going to be slightly different this year, because what I want to show you is basically some of the tools that you may have heard of. Okay, tools that hopefully you've either used or you've heard of, and we'll go with those first. And I'm going to try and ease you in gently to AI for those of you that maybe haven't taken the the plunge yet with AI. Okay, I'm just going to show you a few sort of, I mean, I guess for me, traditional tools, but yeah, we'll see what you think now. Let me just share my screen. So to just show you about what AI can do now, I have prepared my presentation using AI today, and I'll show you how I did that in a second. But yeah, so basically what I want to show you today, if I can get it to actually work, there we go. Just give you, for those of you that know about AI, I'm sure a lot of you are probably concerned about authenticity and our learners using AI for their work. But today I'm going to look at basically what AI can do for us, how it can be used for good, and it can. So quick little intro into generative AI, so things like what ChatGPT does, etc. How it can save us time. Then I'm going to give you a live demo and show you a few tools. And as Rachel said, this is going to be a full-blown session coming up shortly. This is just a little taster to show you what sort of things we'll be looking at. So just a quick little question to start you off. So we're in Mentimeter. So if you've got your phones with you, you can go to menti.com. Okay, so up on my screen, you should be able to see menti.com, and there's a code. So for those of you that have a phone available or another little device or another screen, just log into menti.com and the code 48780114. I just want to see just a quick poll to see who's used what before. That's okay if you haven't used any of those, absolutely fine. I can see a few of you have used Padlet before, a few of you used Kahoot. Yeah, Kahoot's a great tool. And all of these tools on the screen, so Padlet, Mentimeter, Kahoot, Quizlet, they now all have their own AI functions built in. Okay, so not only are they great digital tools, but now they have built-in AI that can make it even easier for us and save us time, and hopefully make it just a little bit easier for those of you that maybe don't like using digital tools or aren't used to it, maybe not as confident as others. So yeah, I can see a lot of people are using Kahoot, so that's great. And Kahoots, look, I'm not going to look at Kahoot per se today, but I will give you a good alternative. Reason being, Kahoot have got some really good AI features, but they're charging us for it. Now, what I like to do, what we always like to do at Panda, is to show you the free stuff, okay? Because, we all work for organizations, especially at the moment, budgets might be tight. So I'm going to show you some really cool free stuff today and give you an alternative for Kahoot if I have time. We've only got 20 minutes today. I'm sure Rachel will tell me when that time is going to be up, because I do tend to overrun a little bit as I did last year. But let's see what we've got. Okay, so some of you have never, oh, it's okay then. Yeah, brilliant. You can only choose one option. Oh, there we are. That's my fault. That's my fault. But, you know, that's fine. Some of you have used many of these, but let's get going because I want to show you what these tools have now got with AI. For those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, you may have heard of things like ChatGPT. That is what we call generative AI. What that means is basically we can have a conversation with a chatbot. It's all very futuristic. And we can ask it questions and have a conversation. So, as it says on the screen, it's a type of artificial intelligence. And look, AI itself, artificial intelligence, has been used for like 40, 50 years, but we're talking about generative AI today. So that's something where we can ask it to do something for us and it will come up with an answer. If we don't like that answer, we can change the conversation and say, well, actually, I want it a little bit easier than that. Can you do that for me? And it'll go, yeah, no problem. A little bit futuristic, but nothing to be scared of. So just a quick point. People say to me all the time, well, look, why use ChatGPT or AI? I'll just Google it. And that's absolutely fine. Look, you know, over the past 20 years, Google has been fantastic on the internet. But the key difference is search engines like Google, others are available, rely on external data that's already there on the web. Where it comes to ChatGPT, for example, or AI bots, and you may have heard of, you know, there's Google Gemini, there's Microsoft Copilot. They rely on external data as well, but it then generates original text responses in the app itself. So we're not going to talk about ChatGPT too much for today. You can go and have a look at that in your own time. What I want to show you is to ease you in gently, and I'm going to show you some of those tools that I asked you about just now, and see how it can help us. Okay, now today I'm going to do a quick little demo of what I did to come up with this presentation today. So if you're really strapped for time, and let's face it, we are as assessors and tutors, I went into Mentimeter, which is one of the tools that I've been using Mentimeter for years. It's a great presentation tool. It's great for asking the audience a question like I just did, or quizzes, but it now has a built-in AI function for free. So I've taken you back now to my main Mentimeter dashboard screen. And look, for those of you that have never used these tools before, afterwards I'll be sending out a Padlet with lots of links to get you started, but also little links to the AI tools as well. So I'm sort of focusing not on the basics of these tools today, but just how AI has been built into them. So I wanted to do a presentation for today, so I wanted to show you what AI can do. So I'll show you what I
Is that a freebie there?
Oh, hello. Everybody okay? Feel free, guys, if you want to ask any questions. I'm sure that Rachel will ask me any burning questions as I'm going through the demo. But just to show you, okay, so welcome, Roz. Here we are. Start with AI. Let's do that. So all I did, I started with AI. And I've got, just to save time today, I've got a few prompts, because with AI, you need to give it something to start with. So we call that a prompt. So I've got a few that I've prepared earlier, just in classic Blue Peter style. So a presentation on AI and digital tools. It includes an introduction to AI, and then AI functions, including Mentimeter and Padlet. So I've told it exactly what I want, and I'm just going to submit that and see what it comes up with. Now, Mentimeter will, first of all, ask us, well, what format do you want that in? I'm just going to go for Menti Lite, nice and easy, but it gives you a little choice on formats. And here it comes with my first draft. And remember, when you use AI, it's a start, okay? It's just a starting point. I will always say to people, use the 80-20 rule. Okay, so let AI do the lion's share of the work for you, but you have to have your input. So look what it's come up with. It's come up with a number of slides. Let's see what it's got. So we've got introduction to generative AI. We've got a little overview there. It's got some nice images in there. It's given me a structure to start with. Okay, so in this presentation, it says, right, I can do a demonstration. Yeah, I could do that. Demonstration of Padlet. Okay, so it's given me some information, some cool photos. It's also built in, how knowledgeable are you about AI and digital tools? And then a final question, what are your reflections on the use of AI? Now, what I could do is to just share this with everybody like I did with mine, and we could go from scratch. But, you know, I would want to change a couple of things on that. So let's have a look. I'll go back to the beginning. Don't really like that picture, so I'm just going to, on the right hand side, I'm just going to scroll down, update that image. And what it'll say here, back to upload. So if we press the back button there, I can pretty much upload any photo or image from my computer, or I can go to their image library, which is hosted by Unsplash, so they're all royalty free. I'm just going to put in a little prompt for AI, see what it comes up with. Okay, let's just go, oh, I like that one. Let's go for that one. Save, and it's changing the picture as we speak. Okay, and you can go in. I mean, I don't particularly like the word agenda, so I'm going to change that, and I'm just going to say coming up. But you can see how easy it is. It's given you the format, it's given you the structure, and you can go from there. If you wanted to change any formats, okay, so demonstration of Mentimeter, it's got quite a lot of text on that screen. Maybe I don't want that, so I'm going to change it. Let's change the layout a little bit. So you've got different layouts you can use. But you get the idea, okay? You can completely change and tweak it to what you think is best for you. But it gives you a starting point. This is exactly what I did for my presentation today. So it's a good place to start. So just wanted to give you a little demo to Mentimeter and what it's doing. Okay, so it can come out with a great little presentation with built-in quizzes. I used a really general prompt there, but you could be much more specific to get better results. Now, the main thing I'm going to look at today is Padlet. Now, I could see that a few of you have used Padlet before. And I've used Padlet for years, right? I love Padlet. Padlet is basically somewhere where you can, it's like a notice board, and you can add posts to it, you can add media to it, so links to websites, videos, etc. But over the past few months, Padlet has radically changed its offering for free. So in the free account, you will be able to have 3 free Padlets. Now, if you look at my home, you will see I've got loads, right? Because I've been using it for so long. I started using it when it was unlimited, but then they caught on and realized that they had to start charging. So now for a free account, you'll only get 3 Padlets. I've got loads, but that's just because I've been using it for a long time. But if you were to sign up today, you would get 3 free Padlets. And you can start just experimenting with that. So when you come into into Padlet, you can just click on Make at the top. Okay, so let's just go into that, and they'll give you some options. And the very first option it gives you underneath the blank board is AI recipes. So recipes is like templates. Okay, so I'm just going to show you a couple of these today, because I think this is absolutely brilliant. Because remember, it's a free account. Now, a lot of other tools out there are starting to charge, but Padlet has kept it free for now. And they're updating it all the time with new tools. So let's get stuck in. The very first basic thing. Okay, so if you wanted a quick discussion to have with your learners, let's do a discussion board. So it's creating my Padlet, and it comes out with a very basic Padlet layout here. So this is going to be a discussion board where you can share it with your learners and they can add their comments to the board. Over on the right-hand side, it's got the AI section. So generate discussion ideas with AI. So I'm just going to put in a very basic topic, and I'm going to say digital tools for education. Now, it then gives you a choice of grades. Now, look, Padlet's an American tool. So if you're not familiar with the grading system, don't worry, you can sort of bit of trial and error with that. But I'm going to go for higher education just to make sure it's up at that level for who we teach. And I've pressed generate, and it's come up with, based on my topic, digital tools for education, it's come up with a few suggestions. So I can choose any of those. Let's have a look. Oh, I like that one, discussing the impact of AI on critical thinking in education. So let's have that. And it's a debate. You'll see it says underneath debate, and a couple up here, we've got question and response. I'm going to go for a debate. So let's put that one in. Now, what you'll see, if we go back to generate, topic, digital tools, there we go. Yeah, so let's go back to that one. And there it goes. It's now put in, does the use of AI in education enhance or hinder critical thinking skills? Let's have a heated debate. Then you'd share this with your learners, and you can see it's put two headings, so for and against. But another good thing about Padlet is, if you press next, it will come up with a couple of prompts to start. Okay, so a couple of posts to start your learners off if they're not sure what to put. So one for each section here. I quite like that one, so let's put that one in, and I'll put this one in here just to start them off. Okay, then press next, and it gives you choices to share. So I can copy the link and put that into the chat if we're doing it online, or I can share it in another way if we're in the classroom. I could even give people a QR code to join. Okay, so loads of ways to share this so that people can join your discussion and take part. So that's just a very basic thing that Padlet is doing with AI, really basic discussion boards, which is great. I want to show you something a little bit more. I'm really excited by this. Maybe it's just me. I'm quite sad, but I want to show you this one, lesson plan. So an AI lesson plan through Padlet. So I've come up with a subject, key events in health and social care in the UK. I know there's a few of you on the call that do health and social care, so I wanted to give you sort of a real life example. Again, I'm going to stick to higher education. And what I'm going to do, I've got a little prompt that I came up with earlier just to save time. And I'm going to just put, so in the additional details down here, I'm just going to give it an instruction. A 3-hour online session to explore key theories, including, oh, I've come up with a different one then. Let's not, tell you what, we won't do health and social care. Let's do, me being fancy, let's do education and training. We'll do health and social care on the next one. So education and training. And yeah, I'm going to do it on educational theories, teaching and learning. It says standards to align to. Again, that is mainly American, so I'm going to leave that. Additional details I've put in my prompt, a 3-hour online session to explore key theories, including Maslow, Kolb, and learning styles. This is something that we train in the award in education and training all the time. So this can save me loads of time. So let's see what it comes up with. Now, when it's creating, it takes a couple of minutes. Okay, so bear with it. But what it's going to come up with is a notice board sort of effect here with different columns. It's even going to give me my lesson objectives, which I think is pretty cool. And remember, this is just a starting point, okay? You can change those objectives if you don't want them. You can change the activities it comes up with. So it's just starting off with a structure for me, okay? So I've got the learning objectives in the first column, some really cool ones, I think. And actually, they've worded them very nicely. I'm happy with that. So explain Maslow's hierarchy of needs, describe Kolb's cycle, happy with that. If I wanted to change it, I could go in and change it, but this is just to show you the starting point. And look, it's come up with some instructional activities as well. So we can start off with an essential question for the learners. How do these theories inform? Then it's got a nice little introduction to Maslow's. Watch the video. So it's given me a video on Maslow's. I can check that out. I won't do that just now. Another few resources, learning styles. So everything I asked for is in there. But then it's also got assessment. So it's got some activities, you know, so maybe formative assessment, theory matching. I could get them to do a group presentation, etc. And then even homework, you know. So look, it's a starting point. Okay. If I was starting now and I had to do a session on this, I'd be scratching my head for a few minutes, maybe not knowing where to start. This has just given me a really good basic lesson plan to start with. Okay, so I thought that was quite a cool thing to do, to show you. But I want to show you another couple of things. How much time have I got, Rach? 5 minutes? I think what
It's
we'll
for
do
us.
next. Sorry?
Or actually 4 minutes 20, and we've got a question
Lovely.
waiting in the wings.
Oh, have we? Brilliant. Okay. Oh, there's so much. And I think what I'll do, I'll show you one more thing before I show you another really cool thing. So I've got 4 minutes now. Let's go. I want to show you a reading list. I like the reading list because let's do health and social care for this one. So let's go with one of, I believe, one of the questions from the core in health and social care qualification. The key theories and models that affect growth and development, etc. I've asked it to include images, text, videos. So I'm going to say health and social care. And we'll say key events, shall we? No, we'll say key theories. Because I just want to show you what the reading list can do for you. It says reading levels, so I'm going to go for basic for now, but you've got intermediate and advanced, and we'll go for create. So what this does, it's going to give you a starting point for some research, okay? And it gives you links to articles, it might give you videos, it might give you just links to interesting articles, etc. So what it's going to do is give it in distinct sections. As I said, it's a starting point. So it's come up with developmental theories, Bowlby, Piaget, Erickson's. For those of you in health and social care, I hope that these are all relevant. I have checked it, and it was actually, these were all included in the WJEC guidelines, so I'm pretty happy with this. Bronfenbrenner, Maslow, but look, they're all links, okay? So you can go and research these. And it might be that you want to just issue this straight to your learners, or you might want to tweak it a little bit, add your own in. But what a great place to start. AI has just come up with some really great little starting points for us. So that's Padlet. Okay, now Padlet, this is on the free version, and this is what I want to show you. In our session, when we go through this in detail, we'll be going through each one, giving people a chance to have a go and make their own resources. But you can see also in Padlet, we've got timeline of events. I've got some event timelines that I've done. I'll put those on the resources for later for you to have a look at. Some assessment polls, some really exciting stuff in Padlet. But before I go, I just want to tease you with one more little thing. As I said, Kahoot does charge us, okay? I think it's a tenner a month for AI capability. Let's use Quizalize instead, because Quizalize, if you haven't used that before, it's a really good tool. Very similar to Kahoot, where you can just do a lovely little quiz, multiple choice, etc. But it's got AI built in now. So I wanted to just show you, if we say make a smart quiz with AI help, what are you teaching today? Well, we'll give it a subject in a minute. I just want to show you this though. You can paste in a load of text, a PDF. You can just put in a topic. Okay, so we could put digital tools, whatever. But what I want to do is to show you this one, a YouTube link. Okay, and what I'm going to do, I have got a little YouTube video on Maslow. I'm obsessed with Maslow today, don't know why. And we're just going to put the URL in there. And there it is. It's come up with the video. Okay, and what it's going to do, AI is going to create a quiz based on this video. Now, what it is also going to ask me to do when we say continue is to enter the video transcript. If you don't know how to do that, it shows you. So click on how. It'll take you, if you press that link, it'll, oh, brilliant. Well, it worked perfectly at 7 o'clock this morning and yesterday, but let's try it again. Okay, it's not working. Brilliant news. But what it could do, basically what you do, you go into YouTube and you put the transcript, you show transcript, just copy and paste it into here and it will come up with a quiz. Now, luckily, I did prepare one earlier to show you what it looks like, just in case this happened. So let's have a look at my classes and you'll see that this quiz here, basically what it did, it came out with a load of questions based on that video. And I'll just preview it for you now. It's a shame that didn't work because it worked perfectly earlier. But what I'll do, I'll probably put a little demo video on the Padlet that I show you later, just to show you that it does work. But it's really cool. You put in a YouTube video and the transcript that's really easy to do. It gives you step-by-step instructions, and then it will generate some quiz questions based on that video. So brilliant way to finish with a great IT error there. Good old IT. It's there to help us. But guys, that's just a really quick AI whirlwind tour of all the tools that maybe you've heard of already, that have already started to embrace AI. So you don't have to worry about ChatGPT if you don't know how to use that or any of those. Just go to your usual tools like Mentimeter, Kahoot, Quizalize, even things like Socrative, SurveyMonkey, they've all got AI functions now to make our lives a little bit easier. Are there any questions? Let's have a look. Never used
Ross, there was
Padlet.
one interesting question that
Yeah?
came up from Sarawat, which is about if you use these tools to make a project, for example, would it get picked up by Turnitin? So this is
right. That's a good question. If you got your learners to do that, it would do, yes. However, it depends on how you're giving that assignment. But Turnitin, I'm afraid, yeah, it probably would, because Turnitin is picking up things like Grammarly, etc. if you're using AI. But what I'm talking about here is more, rather than assessment, it's for use during sessions. Okay, but yeah, something to bear in mind as well. And also just a note on privacy. So when you are using AI of any sort, just be careful that you're not putting in personal information, etc. Each of these bots and each of these tools does have a privacy policy, so do check that out.
I think, Roz, if we don't mind, I just go off on a small tangent here,
Yeah,
because
go
it's
for it.
something that we come across as assessors is people who have used AI to help them write their assignments.
Yeah.
And it's something that we can't get away from, and
No.
it's something that we're going to need to embrace. Like, no, if we think of years ago when, I don't know, the internet came,
Connect, yeah, I remember it.
It's similar to those times, and what we've got to make sure that we're doing or encouraging our learners to do is to reference if they have used AI, and the JCQ has really clear guidelines on how the use of AI for assignments should be referenced. Like screen print should be taken, the link from the AI should be inserted into an assignment. So I just wanted to mention that because
yeah, I mean,
it's a bit of a tangent.
It is, and it is a big issue for assessors at the moment, AI. But I think it's really important that we're not just banning it because it's not going anywhere. Right. I think it's really important, as you say, to embrace it, but check that your organisation has a plagiarism policy in place that includes the use of AI, because I think, and what we think at Panda is, we've thought long and hard about this, is that like anything else, like as you say, Rachel, back in the day, I remember when all our students used to copy and paste from Wikipedia and we were like appalled. But now it's using ChatGPT. What we've got to do is make sure they're referencing it like any other source, whether they use Google or Wikipedia or whatever. But then, we need to see a considerable change from what the prompt was to begin with and what their answer is, to make sure that they've done it in their own words. So look, that is what I like to call the dark side of AI. I was trying to look at the really positive side of it today and how it can help us, but it's a
Sorry,
really...
it brought us down.
So you brought us down, but no, it's a really important subject, and a subject that will also be looking at in future sessions as well, because it's a hot topic. I mean, I know Alison's on the call, and we had a really good debate about this recently in one of our meetings, and yeah, it could get quite touchy, that debate. But yeah, AI's here to stay, guys. So let's try and embrace it, but make sure that your learners, if they use it, they are referencing it.
Great, thank you ever so much, Rod. And there was lots of great comments in the chat there about how useful people have found that. And how many. Yes. Yeah, it's the unknown, isn't it? It's just us sort of opening eyes to people and what's out there. So hopefully we can just even help a little bit for people to help and for you to demonstrate and see how easy it is to do. Because I think that's the other thing is, we can often be worried about going down some wormhole.
Yeah, I mean,
not coming out again for a day.
Yes, which I tend to do. And as you can see, it decided not to work for me then, just because there's lots of people on the call. But then you start again, or you go to another talk. We're here to help you break that down and to sort of, in our sessions, we'll sort of give you a go so you can make mistakes. It doesn't matter.
Great, thank you very much, Roz. And next we're on to Anne. So Anne is going to just talk around some essential tips for assessors today. So Anne, when you're ready.
Oh, thank you very much. That was brilliant, Roz. So many excellent tips in there to guide you through. So, and things develop and change all the time. No, it is. You know your stuff. Yeah, thanks all. Lovely to be here this morning. So, I was very lucky to win an award, actually a couple of awards recently. Obviously, Inspire Learning at Work Institute as well award recently, and also the LD practitioner. Thank you so much to Panda for nominating me. That was so generous. And also, I think that's a reflection of my learners as well and the great work that they're doing. So it was a great celebration all round. So I was asked to do some kind of tips, I suppose, to kind of be prepared to be an assessor. I just want to preface this by saying, obviously, I'm not perfect like anyone else. I'm human. I make mistakes. Things go wrong. But I think I've been an assessor. I've been in education and worked in teaching for quite a long time. So it's kind of little I suppose, tips and tricks you learn along the way. So we're just going to quickly share some of them now with you and see what you think. And like you're saying, please feel free to button and ask questions or put questions in the chat. If you've got anything, that would be absolutely fantastic. So I'm just going to share my screen. Hopefully this will work. Hopefully you're seeing my slides, fingers crossed. Right then, okay. My background, I suppose, I've worked in adult ed. I've done everything, to be honest. I've done work-based learning, I've worked for universities, I've worked in community learning, I've done FE, and I've kind of taught teachers, essential skills practitioners, so a bit of all sorts really. But there's one key theme, I think, that I want to kind of emphasise in this talk. I think the one area I think is the most important thing when you're dealing with people, and that's true, I think, in life as well as it is in work, to be fair. These are my top tips. Okay. Right then, so starting you off then, just a little quick, kind of matters of time, but do you want to put some ideas in the chat? What kind of skills and qualities do you think are important for an assessor to have generally then? So a lot of you might be assessors yourself, or tutors or lecturers, or working in kind of leadership, or maybe there are areas and skills and qualities that you want your staff to have in teaching and education. So just to get you thinking a little bit, what kind of skills and qualities do you think is important for assessors to have? What do you feel are key things? Maybe personalities, or how you kind of, obviously you can't maybe change your personalities, but you can kind of alter the way that you are with people a little bit to kind of match where they are quite a lot of the time. So I can see some comments are coming up in the chat. Let's have a look. Can someone read them out for me? I think I can see them.
And we've got listening, integrity, communication, passion for the subject and role, which I think is really important, because sometimes when things get hard, that's what gets you through, is your passion, and your passion for wanting to pass on your knowledge. Active listening, which is a very important one as well. Patience, good communication. Empathy is another one that's coming up from a few places. Open-minded, more about the communication skills, being able to relate to the learner's role, again, which is very important. Emotionally intelligent, knowing the impact of your words on others, absolutely, Nikita. More about empathy, understanding, support, patience, approachability, clear and constructive feedback, organisation skills. That's definitely something that's needed in the role, because there's lots to organise, many people to look after. Definitely, Dennis, experience in the exterior assessing, and you need to know a lot about your subject in order to pass that on. Knowledgeable and competent, supportive, flexible, sensitive. Wow, lots of things coming in. Thank you, everyone. Timekeeping. But yeah, thank you, everyone, for that. Really, really good.
Yeah, they're coming thick and fast, aren't they? So yeah, lots of comments here. Absolutely, I think we're all singing from the same hymn sheet here. Definitely, a lot of the common threads that you're kind of picking up are so key in terms of people's attitudes and plan and organisation. I like Nikita's idea about to admit when you may not know all the answers. I think to be human. I think it's such a key thing, to be personal or relatable with people. Because people know if you're not being authentic and you're being your real self. I think people know, they know you're being a bit fake. Obviously, so sometimes you might have to kind of adjust how you are to kind of match people's energy sometimes. I mean, I know my experience is that sometimes I'm a bit introverted, so if I'm with extroverted people, I might have to kind of up my energy to kind of meet them a bit. But I think it's just like you say, being empathetic and sensitive. Absolutely, these are so key. And being, open-minded. Yeah, so many things. Okay, great. Thank you, folks. Okay, so so I did a little there's a blog that was created from Panda. So I took these kind of key areas that we're kind of discussing today really quickly. So which you've come up with yourselves, which is fantastic. So yeah, absolutely, communication, that's a really key area. It's a cliche and it's a trope, but it is a key thing. It's always the most important thing, isn't it, that comes up. Communication, clear communication, being honest, saying when there's a problem, not hiding things sometimes, if there's issues that come up, there's, talk about the elephant in the room, and being clear with directions. In the past, I've been the worst person sometimes about giving too much information, too much feedback, too many things going on. It's a little bit confusing. Short, sharp, be clear, be honest. And that will help and go a long way, definitely. So the next book in the wall, and these obviously, my creation of this PowerPoint is, you get the joke, but it's all kind of bricks. These are the foundational, I suppose, of being a kind of good assessor. Observation skills is a key point. So when we talk about observation skills, we're talking about when you're obviously formally observing learners doing any kind of observation or maybe task in the workplace, but also observation skills just generally, just when you're with a learner, just giving them your full attention. Turn that phone off for a minute, be with them, be present. What's going on? Do they look like they're interested? Do they look like they're happy? Are there any concerns you think you need to address? There's so much you can get from people's body language and just observing them really. You came up with this as well, and thanks in the room. So organisational planning skills, that's so key, isn't it? And kind of working out, I think, what's best for you as well. Obviously, your organisation will have their own systems in place that you have to kind of follow and use, and there are so many different ones. Some organisations use more the Google Suite, for example, some maybe use the Microsoft. It's a bit like Apple Android, isn't it? But also, I think there's a lot of tools that you can use yourself. I still use the old Post-it notes. I'm a little bit old school probably because of my age, but whatever works for you is kind of having those to-do lists, those tasks. I always write things down because my memory is pretty bad sometimes. If I don't write it down, I'll forget it. So I think it's just, finding out what works for you and putting those kind of systems in place so you don't miss stuff. And also blocking out time. I think that's something I've been doing more recently as well. Sometimes you need that time sometimes to do that admin, to do that marking, and kind of putting that in your diary. Because it's so easy sometimes just to fill your diary up with meetings and activities, and sometimes you need a bit of time to think. That's key as well. Questioning skills. So questioning skills, that may be questions that you're obviously doing with your learners. So any kind of assessments that you've got with them. Those again, those maybe those formal Q&A sessions, different types of questionings. You know, if you're asking, it's a classic, but if you're asking people, you know, are you happy? Yes, no. If you're asking, you know, if you're asking how you're feeling, you're going to get a more authentic answer. You're going to get more details. So there's different types of question techniques, those open, those probing, those prompting questions that you use in people. Yeah, to get more information really. And then to obviously, so that the learners can demonstrate their skills and knowledge, because if you're having a discussion with someone, for example, you want to kind of draw maybe the information out that they've got, and you know it's there sometimes, and they might need some questioning around those criteria to get it out of them. So yeah, again, it's about kind of being authentic and giving people your time. Critical analysis, that's another kind of key tool. So, and scale and quality, rather. So it's about, sometimes you might have a lot of evidence from people. Sometimes you might be working with learners working in different areas, different subject areas. I know I do. And sometimes you might be presented with a lot of different information, lots of different sources, work product, maybe some reports from the learners. There may be some tasks that they're doing. They've given you some information. You're thinking, actually, what is this about? Is this actually addressing the assessment criteria? Sometimes it can be a bit vague. You've got to kind of help and look at it and kind of analyse it and make those, help the learner to make those links between their criteria for the qualification, if they're doing a qualification, and usually most learners are, and the evidence that we're trying to pull together to meet those points. So that might involve a lot of kind of conversations and, yeah, maybe questions again, I suppose, but what is actually showing? Is this showing what the criteria says? Is it implied, or is it clear? How to make those links. Constructive feedback, that's a really key one as well. We definitely can advocate the use of medals and missions, Jeff Petty's approach to kind of giving medals and being positive as well. I know as a learner myself, I've experienced sometimes university supervisors give me, I've poured my heart into some written work, I've sent in an essay, and they just come back with comment. I know they're being helpful, but it's all negative. And it's just so dispiriting. You need to have that balance between positive praise and also those medals. What's going right? What's you doing well? And those missions, set those targets and be specific with those as well. What things do you need to maybe do with this written work? What things in the questioning do we need to look at? So what's not quite there? What maybe task or activity you're carrying at your workplace that maybe there can be improvements made? And also, I think it's about working in collaboration with your learner as well and having those conversations together. It's about respecting your learner on a kind of more of an equal footing. And giving them, making have more of a conversation really. So not just being all about you, but encouraging your learner to self-reflect on what they're doing as well and take part of that process. So it's a two-way thing, ideally. It should be a two-way thing. And encouraging feedback from them as well. Learners, what's going on? Are you are they getting what they need from you? It's important that you have those conversations in reviews, for example. It's not just at the end of the course, but right throughout the process. Because if you don't know, it's hard to change stuff, isn't it? If you don't get that feedback, how can you change? It's really difficult. Oops, sorry, go ahead. Right. And flexibility, that's a key one you mentioned as well, folks. Yeah, absolutely. Work-based learning, I think, is a classic of all the learning types, of all the different kind of learning settings, with terms of college or universities. Things can change all the time, can't they? Work-based learning, we know, I have a plan for that day and it'll just go completely out the window. Your learner might have to do something else. There might be some other tasks that's come up, maybe some kind of issue that's arisen, and it's having those kind of plan B, plan C, backup plans. What's that classic thing? To fail to plan is to plan to fail. They always used to tell us that when I was doing my PGC. But it's been flexible and adaptable and just kind of, rolling with the punches and always thinking, well, we'll try something else. We'll do something different. Right, okay, what else have we got here? So, so knowledge of assessment techniques is really key as well. Developing the way that you assess your learners. There are so many different methods, and we covered these in a lot of the courses that we do at Panda. That even widened my knowledge, I think, to be honest, when I first started with Panda 3 years ago, of all the kind of different ways sometimes. Because sometimes I feel like you can't get into a bit of a rut sometimes with assessment methods. And always assess people the same way. Sometimes it's set by the awarder body. You haven't got so much choice. Perhaps they do ask, they stipulate there has to be questions, there has to be a test, there has to be an exam, but often, especially with formative assessments as well, those ongoing evaluations and assessment that you're doing, can be quite a lot of flexibility in the different methods that you've got. So I think, developing a knowledge of the different techniques that there are to gather your evidence that you need from and prove competencies for your learners in different ways, whether it be work product, whether it be witness testimony, end product, quiz, test. There are so many, again, it's meeting your learners' needs. That's always a key thing, finding out what works best for them and the situation that they're in. Next brick in the wall, we've got ethical assessment practice. Ethics is a big, I think that's a key area, and it ties in very much with being inclusive. Always thinking, I suppose, taking a step back. You being respectful with your learners, you encouraging, you set the tone, you set the bellwether for how you are with your learners in any kind of session, any kind of meeting, any kind of training session. How are you being? Are you being fair? You kind of challenging any kind of comments that are coming in that may be racist or they're derogatory or they're misogynist? You're always thinking about, respect and encouraging that respect right from the start, right from the induction, setting the boundaries, setting the clear expectations for behaviour, and then role modelling what that is as well. And then obviously being fair, I think it's, back to, we're all human, aren't we? So sometimes you will naturally sometimes gel and click better with some learners than you will with others. Perhaps there's some kind of personality that you'll get on with, and you always have to kind of consciously take a step back and go, am I being fair to this learner? Am I saying, yes, they can do all this, but actually, am I just getting on with them maybe slightly better, and we're just clicking a bit more, but actually, have they actually demonstrated their knowledge, those competencies? So, it's been taking a step back and think about fairness of that as well. And obviously put into practice any kind of reasonable adjustments that people need. Obviously, the Equality Act 2010 is a key point with the nine protected characteristics that we talk about in the courses that we do. Putting in place those changes sometimes. I've had, for example, learners in the past where sometimes they might be doing Ramadan, maybe prayer times that follow the Muslim religion, and I wouldn't put any kind of them in situations where they've got to concentrate, because it just would be unfair in that situation if you haven't anything to eat or drink, and then put someone in a test. It's not going to bring the best out of them. So it's always kind of thinking of the big picture, I suppose. Next brick in the wall, collaboration skills. I think I touched upon this already, didn't I really? So it's always thinking about, I think, and collaborating with your learners as well, and kind of evolving the process. So when you're setting targets, you've had a meeting with them, they've done or they've not done the work, or maybe they've done some of the work, for example, in a progress review. Okay, what we're going to do next? Well, we're going to try something different. What's going to work for you? Put the onus back onto the learner. They're the ones doing the qualification at the end of the day, not you. Sometimes I think it's easy to get sucked into that. But it's also working in collaboration with them and agreeing those targets together. You're empowering them as well, aren't you, in that process? You're encouraging them. That's what we're aiming for. We don't want to be passive in this. We want them to be kind of empowered. Time management, like you said, with the time planning, that's a really key thing. And those ways, I think that, you could do it again. We do a whole training session on that. There's all kind of different techniques that you can use to help you with that. But it's a really key skill. And you can never have enough. There's not enough time in the day. It's just very true. It's the kind of thing, I think, with education training, you could do 24/7. You can work easily. There's always something to do, but you've got to kind of prioritize and focus, and always kind of keep thinking, God, what's the most important thing at this point that we're doing with this learner, and always taking note of when their finish date is, or their end dates are, and who we've got to prioritize at this current time. Okay, last one, at least is continuous learning. So CPD, your continual professional development, always keeping that up to date. Things change all the time, like we were seeing with Roz, the developments with AI and digital tools. Things, always keeping that knowledge and skills up to date. Maybe your digital skills, maybe your teaching and training skills. You've got a vocational area as well, keeping that up to date. Quite often in the past, I've kind of seen college lecturers, they maybe go into college, and then they get involved in teaching education, they become great at that, but then perhaps they neglect their vocational skill areas, and things will change maybe in plumbing or engineering, and they're not maybe keeping on top of that. So you're a dual professional often in this kind of field. If you're working in work-based learning, you're professional maybe in your teaching and training, being a practitioner or assessor, and also in your vocational area as well. So it's keeping your skills and knowledge up to date. And there are so many ways you can do that too.
Just to keep you talking about time management, for about 3 minutes.
Okay. Way over. There we go. Thanks, Rachel. Right, there we go. So there's a blog you can read on that to kind of to give you some more information going forward with that. If you want to have a little read, we can send out to you. That's on our website as well. But I think the key point really is about, like I was saying, is about honesty and openness. There's a quote here from Bell Hooks, who's an amazing feminist. She died a couple of years ago. A black lady from America, but the key point I think has always been that the honesty and openness and communication, and that kind of ties the whole thing together. If you don't have those things, you forget about the rest of it. So the key point then, there's 3 key areas of all those things, that brick in the wall. If you focus that down, the key things really are communication, relationships and rapport, and inclusivity and ethics. So yeah, just kind of thinking about those key areas really. And what ties it all together, that kind of invisible golden thread, is that point of being honest, that dialogue, that conversation, and the communication.
Thank you, Anne.
Okay.
Sorry, I thought you'd...
Okay.
Carry on as you were.
Okay, I'll quickly finish. So yeah, so communication, so it's setting out expectations, being clear right from the start, keeping track and recording everything as you go as well. So clear right from the start, right from induction. What they expect from you, what do you expect from them? Being clear, concise, like you're saying, so that's in the written communication, in your emails, maybe in a text, maybe how you're speaking to people. And adapting your style to suit them as well, which I'm always very conscious of. I try to as much as I can. I think I picked that from kind of leadership courses in the past, that some learners want you to be chatty and friendly, not that, you're not your friend, but be friendly. And some learners just want to do the task, this is it, we just crack on, do the work. So it's finding out about your learner, what makes them tick, and tying in with that really. Encouraging questions. So, like I was saying, it's getting that kind of feedback going there, really, isn't it? And the more you find out about the learner, their personal hobbies, their lives, what they want to get out of the course, what they're doing, that goes a long way as well. You've got to find a hook often. What's going to get them interested in this course? You might have learners coming to you that aren't interested. They're doing it because their employer told them to do it. It's mandatory. They've got to do it because of any particular reason. So, it's finding that thing that's going to keep them interested, and make it relevant to them as well. Like I was saying earlier, it's that developmental feedback, that as you go, those medals and missions that you're setting as you go, and making that kind of two-way thing as well. So feedback from the learner and the employer too. That's a key part of the process, is triangle. Speaking with the employer, what's going on there. Invite them to meetings, keep informed what's happening, what's taking place. Get them involved right from the start. So when you start with the learner, get the employer on board so they understand what's expected, what's going on, what the course is about. That'll really help. That'll go a long way. And non-verbal cues, so that's what I was saying about the kind of, I suppose, when you're with a learner and seeing, are they interested, are they bored, do they look like they're confused, always kind of reading that kind of body language can tell you so much. Even remotely, you can still get quite a good idea of what's going on there. So in terms of relationships and rapport, it's very much about building trust. I think that's a key point. Respect and trust, they're so key things, and it's so hard to sometimes to build trust, and it's so easy for that trust to go. So it's being authentic and your integrity. If you say you're going to do something, you do it. If you can't do it for any reason, be honest. If you agree to meet up, then do it. It's kind of so that after a while, your kind of learner will trust that you're kind of competent and be themselves with you as well. Like I was saying earlier, that's back to the active listening again. That is so key. And empathetic too. You don't want to be it's get that sweet spot, I suppose. You want to kind of know a bit about the learners and show that you're interested, and obviously that they're engaged and understanding, but you want to be sometimes their critical friend at the same time. So sometimes you might need to challenge a little bit. Okay, it's been a few reviews now, we're not moving forward. What can we do to change this? What can we do to make this progress? So sometimes you've got to be not cruel to be kind. That's not the right word, but it's empathetic, but it's getting that sweet spot really. And professional at all times. The way you are, the manner you are, it's kind of challenging. Any kind of swearing that comes on. It's not following them on Facebook. You're not social media friends doing this course. It's you're professional. And sometimes I think that sometimes can get a bit blurry often, especially with adult learners. Okay, so like I was saying, just to finish up. So it's find that common ground between the two of you, or your learners or your group. Following up on what's happening or any kind of meetings, targets that have been set. Like I was saying, kind of engaged employees, keeping everyone in the loop so everyone knows what's going on. And also being clear with your learner sometimes as well, you're telling the employer so they don't feel like you're just doing something and not telling them, keeping them involved. And then inclusivity and ethics, really key area as well. So obviously inclusivity, being kind of open, encouraging learners to be themselves, being very unconscious bias. We're humans, we got biases, it's just inbuilt in us. So sometimes it's taking that step back, having those conversations with your manager. Am I being fair to this learner? Am I making reasonable adjustments? Is there anything I can do or we can change to get this learner to complete? Perhaps they've got learning difference. I'm sure Emessa will talk about this in a minute now. What can we do so that the learner can achieve and they can attain? Maintaining confidentiality is obviously a key area as well of building trust, because if you're telling another learner all about another learner, what's been said in a particular session or meeting, that's not going to build trust or in any kind of relationship either. Yeah, so being fair. So yeah, Maslow. I know Ross mentioned Maslow earlier, so I think I'm a bit of a Maslow fan as well myself. I know that other ones are available, other models are available, but yeah, it's really key that you're thinking about how you meet those learners' physiological needs at the bottom. You know, they're not hungry, they've been fed, they're water, they're not thirsty, they're comfortable temperature in the room. Do they feel like they're safe? You know, are they in a kind of safe and quiet area? Do they feel like they're safe? Are the expectations and rules clear around expected behaviour so that people know that what they say to you is not going to be repeated to anyone else, unless obviously there's a risk to themselves or others? Do they feel like they belong to the particular, to you, to the course, to the apprenticeship? Those are kind of key. Are they kind of valued and held in esteem? You give them praise, you know, you give them respect to reach that kind of pinnacle, I suppose, of self-actualization, being their best selves. And lastly then, don't forget to put your own oxygen mask on first. So that, I think, is a really key point. As I said, you can do 24/7 with this job. You can work all the hours. There's always work to do, but you've got to make sure, it's a cliche, but look after yourself. Self-care is so key. You can't help other people and guide them through the courses if you're stressed and are not good place yourself. So make sure you look after yourself too. And there's a bit of recommended reading here. So these are the ones that I really kind of, a lot of them, feminist literature here that I've been reading quite a lot recently in my reading group. So yeah, I'd recommend any of these, Carol Dweck or Bell Hooks or Kim Scott or Brené Brown. So lots of good tips in there about kind of leading and education and training. So I'm going to finish it there. Thank you very much, Jill Bauer. Thank you.
Sorry, you had to do a whistle-stop tour then. I think that's definitely the Assessor 101. So if any new assessors starting, I think that's a great little summary there, Anne. Thank you ever so much. Right, so next we're on to Esther, who's going to talk to us today about ADHD. If I can welcome Esther to the screen.
Thanks. So I thought I'd do something maybe slightly risky. And as a person with ADHD, that's kind of par for the course, really. So my risky thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to say, ask me anything. So I put in the chat pane there, ADHD, ask me anything. I have prepared, I've got slides. So I'll just start, I'll share my screen, I'll share a little bit of information about ADHD, but if it comes to the point where you're asking me questions and it goes off down that road, that's fine. And if you don't ask me any questions, which is also fine, I can share some information with you. Does that sound like a plan? Okay, so in the chat pane would be the best place to ask me anything, just because it could get a bit noisy if people do chip in. So anything you want to know about ADHD, obviously there may be things I don't know the answer to, and that's fine. I'll point you in the right direction, or I'll send info to Ros and Rachel. But, oh, look, there's one, there's one in there already, and I hadn't even shared my screen yet. How important is it, in your opinion, that an individual is formally diagnosed? That is a great question. I get this question a lot. The person it's important to is the individual. So the individual might know they have ADHD, identify as having ADHD, but absolutely not need a diagnosis at all. Self-diagnosis is absolutely valid. And in fact, if you're claiming access to work support, self-diagnosis is absolutely valid. And plus, we may be having to wait 2, 3, 4, 5 years for a diagnosis on the NHS. For the person, it might be incredibly important for them to get a diagnosis, because it may validate what they've been living with for their whole lives. Some people get what we call late diagnosis in their 20s. I got my late diagnosis in my 50s. You know, if you're getting a diagnosis to help you understand that you're a different neurotype and that the way your brain works is different to neurotypical brains, and that you're fighting to try and fit in your whole life and things have gone wrong, but now suddenly you have a diagnosis that can make all the difference between struggling and accepting and finding new ways to do things that suit your brain type. Does that feel like a good answer? It really is all about you as a person and how much the diagnosis can help you as a person. Don't let anybody else dictate whether or not you should have a diagnosis. What can I do if I believe I have ADHD? Okay, thank you, Carla. Good question. The first thing to do is to do the research. However, we all know that if there is a lot of misinformation out there, so you need to be doing your research in sources that are credible, like ADHD UK, for example, which is a charity, or the ADHD Foundation. TikTok is great, and there are lots of people on TikTok that are talking about their own ADHD. However, there are also a lot of people out there who are making money out of people with ADHD. So, for example, I'm going to mention Dr. Arman, who has this 7 types of ADHD thing and sells products and supplements to people who have these 7 types of ADHD. I'm not a big fan of that. I think that, you know, I also, this is now my business. I left my old job of 18 years just a couple of months ago to coach and train and supervise and work with people with ADHD and other neurodivergent conditions. But go to those credible sources. And if anyone wants to come to me for credible sources, let me know, and I can send a link out to you to various reading lists and so on. So research is the answer. And then if you really feel that you would like to go down the diagnosis route, contact your GP. Is the best answer I can give you for that. What support is best to support adults with a late diagnosis? There are people who maybe didn't have formal support in school. Annie, so many of us, you know, so many of us, you're going to be surrounded by colleagues and learners and family and friends who are going to have struggled with ADHD their whole lives. So there are lots of ways that we can support people. Too many probably to mention in a 20-minute session, but there are ways. I've divided ADHD up. I've taken it upon myself to divide ADHD up into 3 areas: focus, function, and feelings. So if somebody's struggling with their focus, struggling with their executive function, or struggling with their emotions, which are the 3 main areas that people have an issue with, then there are ways that you can support people with those different areas. But what I would say is, if you've met one person with ADHD, you've met one person with ADHD. Everybody's different. Ask them what works for them. And ask them what doesn't work for them as well. I mean, so much of what Anne was saying then rings so true for all neurotypes. You know, find out what works for them. And Annie, if you have any particular things you're thinking of, just let me know, maybe outside, or ask Roz and Rachel, or perhaps come on the course that I'm going to do as well, because the main focus of the work I'm doing with Roz and Rachel is around how can we support our learners and our colleagues, in fact, and friends. Alison, how, it sounds a bit harsh, but how do you tell if someone who doesn't want to do something but finds it hard to do because of ADHD? It's not for us to judge, is it? It's not for us to judge. I would say, you know, if somebody identifies, understands themselves to be ADHD, we have to take that on trust, just like any other element of that human that we're engaging with. Do you have advice to support a learner with ADHD to focus and engage when they disassociate throughout lessons? Yes, I do. It's very easy for someone to become distracted. And I'm going to use the word bored. I'm sorry. I don't mean it as an insult, but if the person isn't engaged in what's going on in that classroom or that session or online, they may well get distracted. There's a little saying, and the saying is ICNU. If somebody could just type that in afterwards for me. ICNU is the task that the person is trying to do interesting, challenging, novel, or urgent. If the task is not interesting, challenging, novel, or urgent, they may well struggle. So if you've got somebody with ADHD and you're lecturing them for a while, talking to them for quite a while about something, thank you, Rachel, then they may absolutely lose interest because it may be something that they're not fully engaged in. However, an ADHD person, when they find something they are really interested in, they will hyper focus on that thing. And they'll get super interested in it and they'll find out everything there is to know about it. So it's tapping into the person. One of the things you can do is help them understand what's interesting for them, what's challenging for them, what's novel for them, what's urgent for them, and help them tap into that to be able to work on the things that you want them to work on. There's another little saying as well, RAN, I'm just going to put that in, and Rachel, you can do the same again for me. It's reward, accountability, and novelty. So how could reward, accountability, or novelty help that person? If a person is faced with a task, thank you, Rachel, they may go out for a walk as a reward, maybe a chocolate bar as a reward, have a cuddle with their dog as a reward. There are lots of ways that you can help that person put strategies in place to be able to do the tasks that sometimes are a bit more of a struggle for people. Accountability is very helpful. If people come across body doubling, if you have come across body doubling, I don't know if you just put the word body doubling in the chat pane there for me, Rachel, but perhaps if you have a learner who's struggling, a study buddy, having meetings with somebody can really help you to do some tasks that you find really difficult. There are body doubling apps out there that can help people with things like housework, but of course, tasks like homeworks, assignments, those kinds of things where it's a real difficult time to kind of either start it or complete it, then body doubling and accountability can be really helpful. Helping somebody go through the stages of the work that they're trying to do, and checking in with somebody can be so helpful. And again, I think this fits in with the things that Anne was talking about earlier on around communication. I'm going to go back to the questions because I can see there's a few more in here. Yes, so I hope that helped with the Daniela, with the kind of the drifting off part of when someone's in a lesson. And there are things that you can do. Obviously, engaging teaching, I've been doing it for 25 years. I didn't know I had ADHD. It was just the way I was working, and all the things that Ros talks about in terms of, quizzes and engagements and discussions and all the active learning and all of the things that we've been talking about for years. I didn't realize that was because I had ADHD, and that's how I learn. A member of staff has received excellent support through work coaching. Yes, coaching is an amazing thing. I would say that. I'm a coach now and I train coaches. But I think coaching can make all the difference, because somebody with ADHD will most likely be beating themselves up all the time. The negative self-talk that somebody has when they have ADHD is awful to think of. And if you don't have it, it's hard to imagine. Somebody will be constantly telling themselves they're not good enough, they're too loud, they're too noisy, they're too disorganized, and they'll never ever make anything of themselves. And that's what they've been being told for their whole lives by parents, adults, teachers. Those negative self-beliefs will probably 90% likely be there. So it's very important what Anne was saying about reassurance and encouragement and praise. And that thing about, medals and missions, I love that. Rachel told me about that recently. Being able to give them that support to help them understand that they are a person who has the potential and that they are able to achieve things, and help them to that's one of the things that coaching does, is to help people understand that those negative things that they're saying to themselves are not true. They're just there because they've been told that their whole lives, and they're desperately trying to fit in. And of course, they'll have probably some emotional stuff going on. 99% sure they'll have emotional stuff going on, because people with ADHD have a rejection sensitivity, which is what I would have showed you on the slides, but that's okay. Rejection sensitivity, very, very susceptible to and pain. Criticism and rejection causes actual pain. It's very extreme rejection sensitivity dysphoria, and people very often have emotional dysregulation as well. So you may find that your ADHD their emotions might be very, very up and down, and they'll take criticism very, very badly. So that's another good reason to have some strategies on standby, especially, and to have those conversations, to collaborate, as Anne says, to collaborate with that learner or that colleague. What is the best way to give you the feedback? What would work for you and would help you rather than hurt you? Okay, yes, and Rachel's mentioned fidget toys as well there. So fidget toys can be so helpful. When somebody, it's actually, there's been a study on fidget toys, and if somebody with ADHD is playing with their hands, I'm hyperactive, so I use my hands all the time. But if you use, ask them to, encourage them to use fidget toys, it actually does help somebody concentrate better and focus better, we've found. So that's quite interesting. That's no problem, Kerry. Very nice to see you. So I see that I've got only probably a couple of minutes left. I hope that nobody minds that I didn't actually share my slides. I could just show you the six elements of ADHD, which is a way of being able to kind of spot that somebody's struggling with ADHD. And sometimes, of course, people have ADHD and don't even realize themselves. I'll just share my slide very briefly, just to give you that kind of overview. These are the six things that you're probably going to, that will appear with somebody with ADHD. Oh, I lost you then. Are you still there? There you are. So yes, there will be the inattentiveness, the impulsivity, and the hyperactivity. Those are likely to be there. Even if somebody doesn't show hyperactive on the outside, some people you might think of daydreamers or zoning out. That does not mean they're not hyperactive. What that means is that they're hyperactive on the inside their head. The thoughts are zinging about, and it's exhausting. It's very exhausting for somebody with ADHD to have all that constant action going on in their head, and very distracting as well. There are two neural networks that are meant to complement each other. In a person with ADHD, the brain scans show that those two neural networks fight against each other, which is one of the reasons people find it so difficult to focus. Yeah, we'll send these little slides out to you as well. That's no problem at all. But the three areas that we don't talk about too much when it comes to ADHD, and this is why people, because we've been testing and screening little boys for decades, what we don't realize is that our adults, women in particular, who are very good at hiding things and masking, what we're seeing now is that there are three other major areas of ADHD traits that we hadn't really been looking at properly, which were the hyperfocus, the emotional dysregulation, and the RSD, which I mentioned before. So there's more on this slide deck. I'll just stop sharing for a second because I see there's another question. What there is on the slide deck are things around what the signs are, so the traits, but also some suggestions about how to support as well. And it's kind of like a truncated mini version of what I'm doing in the workshops with Ros and Rachel.
Thank you, Esther.
I'll answer this question.
Sorry.
Though, I know.
I was just going to say, there's a question that's come up now.
Yeah.
How
did you
literally got
feel?
3 minutes left.
I realise. How did you feel you could identify with having ADHD? How would you recommend assessors approach individual if they suspect a learner needs to self-access? I wouldn't tell someone they have ADHD. I would not do that, even if you think it. But what you could do is point them in the direction of some resources. And what I felt when I understood that I had ADHD was massive, massive relief. I understood why my life had been the way it had been, and all the things I'd ever done and all the things I'd ever felt and all the ways that my life had gone. I was like, oh, I'm not broken. My brain works differently to other people's brains, and that was amazing. So I was really pleased and relieved. But a lot of people do go through a grieving mourning process when they feel like they could have done other things had they had that support in their lives. So that's where I'm going to leave it. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you, Esther. Thank you ever so much. We really appreciate you coming in. I think if you want to find out more about ADHD and how to support learners, please come on our workshop with Esther. So I'm just going to share my screen again. Okay. So thank you everyone for coming today. What we just want to share with you now is how you can access some more information from us and keep in touch with us. So we've got blogs on our website. So just go to our website, which is pandaeducation.co.uk. There you can access blogs and there's some free resources. We've also got a Facebook group called the Panda Education and Training Network, where it's a network of practitioners. We've got lots of people who are on today who are a part of that group. Sometimes we'll put questions in there and try and get engagement from the group to try and answer common questions or challenges that people are finding within post-16. So when AI earlier in the year, we put a question in there about AI, and we've put things on there about digital tools, about supporting learners, anything like that. So please have a look at that group if you can. We've got very exciting news in that we have just launched, or today we're launching our very first podcast. So myself, Anne and Roz have started our podcast, which is called the Learning Collab. We call it the Learning Collab because it's a collaboration between us and other experts in the field. So our first one is the three of us, and we talk about passion for professional development. The second one, which will be released by the end of October, is with Lisa Mitten, who's the strategic director for the NTFW, who talks about the changing landscape of post-16 education with the with MEDER coming into being. We've also then next month, I can see Nikita on the call, we're going to do one on learner relationships and learner rapport and how to build rapport with learners. The one after that is going to be on skills competitions and how you can get involved in skills competitions with your learners, and that's going to be with Paul Evans, who's the Director of Inspiring Skills Excellence in Wales. So please pop along to our YouTube site at Panda Edu Limited. They will also be going up onto Spotify and other platforms. Ros was going to give a quick snippet.
Yes, I will.
Of our first one.
Yeah, so our first one is it is on YouTube now. We're going to send out the links afterwards, but just wanted to give you a little teaser trailer. Just so you can see, me and Rachel will probably stop listening at this point because we hate listening to ourselves, but this is just a little taster of what the first one is. As we said, it's on YouTube for now, but over the next couple of weeks, it'll be on all your usual platforms. Any moment now, I will be able to.
When I started at that training provider, I was the shyest person you would ever have met. I used to sit next to the phone, the trainer's phone. You'll know who this is. And he was trying to get me to answer it to build my confidence, and I hated it. I used to go red, even on the phone. So the fact that that training provider and the people there that taught me got me to pretty much where I am today, being able to stand up in front of people.
I'm waiting outside his door for feedback, and he opened the door and I said, "Can you explain why I've had an F?" He went, "No," and just shut the door. And how that made me feel has always stuck with me.
Because I think it's like you're saying a lot of the time. It
really is a teaser, though.
Individual need, and that's the way the education has gone now, hasn't it? It's all about, years ago, it was everyone has the same thing. Tough luck, if you don't fit the mould, like your experience, you forget it. But now it's very much about being inclusive and adaptable and making sure.
We're looking for, we've got a little QR code there to give us some feedback. The middle one is how you join our newsletter, and the last one is to find our events calendar, which is on our website. Just look under events, and that's got all our courses that we've got come up. So particularly, I think if you want to find out more from Esther, I mean, Esther shared a snippet today, and I think, you know, the full one there, that would be really useful to join with Esther. Hey, Roz, are you ready?
Am I ready for what?
Playing the snippet.
I was playing it. Was it not showing?
Oh no, it wasn't. We were all sat there watching the watching.
Oh well, I had a lovely time. I was watching it. I loved it. Shall I share it now?
Yes, go on then.
Sorry, I honestly thought it was right. Let's try again. Can you see it now, Rachel?
No, I can only see you, Roz.
Okay, well, there's something.
I think you did play the snippet. We were watching it.
Yeah, there we are. Everybody else could see it, right? Just not you.
Strange. Oh, everyone else saw it. I'm so sorry.
And all I could hear was you talking, so I stopped. But anyway, don't worry, guys. Go to the link that we're going to send you. In fact, I'll put the link in the chat, but we will be sending out everything after this to everybody that's come today, and it'll be on a Padlet, of course, because I love Padlet. And I will be just popping this on there. But if I just pop it in the chat, you can all go and watch that little snippet yourselves. Back to you, Rachel.
Oh, so yes, it was called the Learning Collab, and you can find it on YouTube. Ross, do you want to put the link actually to the YouTube?
I'm doing it now.
Sorry.
There we are. Very well.
Fantastic. Well, thank you ever so much to everybody for coming today. Sorry, we have run 4 minutes over. I think we had a lot to say. Maybe next time we'll do it 2 hours. But yeah, really good. Diolch yn fawr iawn pawb for joining us today, and please keep in touch via all our social media platforms for anything else we've got coming up in the future. It's been a pleasure to meet you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.